right, today I am pumped because what we are going to do is we're going to go over something that transformed my life. It saved me 10 hours a week, plus maybe 15, even 20 when I was a sales leader. And once I really looked at how I could do the same thing with AI, I got super geeked out and excited. And so I want to share it with you today because, like I said, this was transformational for my life, my family, my relationship with my kids, my wife, and my friends. And I think there's so many leaders and their team that are struggling with this. So we're going to go over for you, and we're going to go over applications and how you can leverage for your team. Sounds good? All right, let me share my screen real quick and we'll get right into it. So boom. All right. So what you're seeing here is, let me just get right into it. As you can say, I started off this before, is how we can learn from the past. And I want to take people, whether it's the leader or the individual contributor, you as a leader or the individual contributor, of let's go from being that craftsman that's taking 17 hours to create a car and $750 hours and only getting out a couple $100,000 a year, to really moving to that assembly line with AI, right? How do we leverage AI as our assembly line and effectively just blow it out of the water in terms of the capabilities that we have and the speed at which we do things, so we can leverage that other time for either more strategic initiatives, free time with our family, or for you to enjoy life, right? Those are the three areas. And so as a reminder, these are some of the use cases that we're seeing on the sales side, right? We could use it for anything. So for your team, we're going to look at, okay, what are the areas that are taking up the most time that are done repeatedly that we could leverage AI for? And then at the same time for you, how are we going to do the same thing? And I'm approaching this from two different angles. You're going to see one is more of all right, time analysis, recommendation strategy. I'm going to do that for the leader because that's more complex. And then for the individual contributor, it's okay, how do we carve out those jobs to be done to make it super simple? So instead of focusing on 24 things that they're okay at, they're focused on the 4 or 5 things that they're freaking amazing at, right? And then they could delegate the rest to AI. So that's what we're going to do with that. And what you're going to see is once again, this is the feedback that I got from teams. So this emotionally charged them with what's possible in terms of closing a $30,000 deal, freeing up a day plus, freeing up 6 hours a week. Okay, those are just the examples that they told me about. There's many, many more. And then at the same time, on the marketing side, they were able to get campaigns that weren't even possible before, 12 MQLs for a single Twitter post that they wouldn't have had time to get out. And then at the same time, free up other areas. So what I'm going to walk you through is the leader workflow first, and then we're going to go through the individual workflow. So for the leader workflow, what we're going to do is we're really going to look at, okay, time analysis, let's screenshot your calendar, let's ask for specific advice, and then let's basically categorize and identify your time sucks. Right? That's what we're going to do for the leader. And then for your team, let's look at the other side. Okay. What are the core areas, research, customized meeting prep, competitor research in seconds, and then even hyperscaling cadences, doing all that in a really fast manner. And normally I would build this out, but I'm trying to make these super tight for you because I know as a leader of a big organization, you don't have big windows of time to look at this. So I basically pre-created the results. But what I will tell you is this literally takes each example took about 5 to 10 minutes to do. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through each. Let me stop sharing my screen. I'm going to pull up ChatGPT and I'm going to show you what I did. And so you can do the same, right? So let me grab this up. Boom. Okay. So we're going to go through the leader schedule first. All right, here we go. So I'm going to start all the way at the beginning. So as you can see here, I did this in my own personal calendar. I used a tool called Zight, Z-I-G-H-T. All it allows you to do is snip, basically click and then basically take a screenshot. I did that with my calendar for the week. And I said, all right, review the attached calendar for my upcoming schedule. Ask me clarifying questions, flag any comments, commitments that are no longer necessary. Every time I update it, ensure I consistently focus on the most impactful task. And then you got to identify your goal. My goal is to free up 10 hours a week, right? It could be anything. My goal is to have less meetings. My goal is to focus more on our top 10% accounts, right? You could identify whatever it is. I just did this because I thought this was relevant to the widest amount of people. Okay, so I did that. And so first of all, what it did is it looks at it meeting by meeting, and then it breaks it out day by day in terms of the calendar commitments that I have. On top of it too, it identifies all the different areas, all right? And then it's all right, let me know what specific tasks you'd like to discuss in more details. I'm like, all right, I'm like, ChatGPT, my biggest problem is that I have 8 one-on-ones for an hour each week. Okay, I do not have those in my calendar, but I wanted to mimic like what you would normally see with a revenue leader, right? And so I put that in there. And so what it said, all right, this is very time consuming. And then it gave me ideas. Oh, and the other thing I said is like, what suggestions do you have for me to streamline this time creatively, but keep my team engaged so they don't feel left out, right? So I'm trying to tap in and not neglect the emotional aspects of it. And so it gave me some pretty ideas, like group check-ins, shorter, more focused meetings, an office hours model, that might not be bad. Use collaboration tools to really help, whether it's Trello, Asana, or Monday, there's some good things there. Rotate one-on-one focus, like different members per week, so like every other week. Empower leaders, and then set clear expectations. It also talks about other areas and then even an implementation plan, which I didn't ask for. And I said, all right, awesome. Can you categorize my activities in the calendar based on themes? Kind of like what we did with the personal development area. Can you put them into categories and themes? So what it did is it categorized in terms of meetings, like look at all these freaking meetings, right? Strategic planning, content creation, engagement, admin tasks, deep work, focus tasks. All right. And then what it did is it gave me the amount of time per task, right? Like, I don't know, man, this is pretty cool. Like, it said like, for example, SaaS Open. I was looking at that for budgeting. It's an event I'm speaking at, content creation, engagement, admin tasks, deep work. And then the cool thing about it is it's summarized each. So I spend like 16 hours and 30 minutes a week in meetings. Okay. That's not actually true. I create meetings for deep work in other areas. So that's why it shows up: strategic planning, content creation, engagement, admin tasks, deep work, and focus, right? So then from there, like it basically categorizes that, and you could even take it deeper, right? And then it gives recommendations of like how to improve that. So if you look at it, like what we did here is we went from like 0 to like look at my calendar, to analyze it, to identify the time sucks, to give recommendations, and then you can implement it. You can keep taking this further and further. Cool thing about it too is once you set this up, you can keep repasting your calendar from the following week and ask you to continue to optimize it. And it's one of those things that you could also use to help prepare for the week or do other things that is really, really interesting when you're looking at almost like an automated time audit of what you're doing. All right, so that's that one. Now let's go over into, I'm sorry, we did personal development, right? Let's go over team productivity. And what I did is I mapped out the 4 examples that I mentioned. And so what those are is, once again, to reaffirm, we did research, right? So this one is really looking at, I asked it to act like a Gartner or Forrester expert research analyst with 20 years experience. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you this one in real time. And then I'll go back to the other ones. I'm just going to copy this. And let's say we're doing research on NVIDIA. So I'm going to operationalize this so you can see this in real time, just how fast this is. So, because that's something I haven't done, and I think you'll be blown away when you see like how fast it is. So it combed through NVIDIA's annual report like that. Look at that. It covers the strategic initiatives from the CEO. On top of it too, it's covering their financials, their 10K insights, the top key risks. And then one of the things I love about this is you could say this like, all right, click on that like we did. Identify 5 ways I can position my solution for the, let's say, CRO. And then I could say, I work at, let's say, G2, right? So that basically gives me insight of like, all right, if you work at G2 and you're meeting with this person, this is how to accelerate that. So you have custom insights, and you can go much, much deeper on it. But I wanted to show you that in real time so you can see what this output is. So let me go back to the pre-built example on what you're going to see here. Oh, let's go back to team productivity. Okay. So we're going to go back to here. And so what you're going to see is like we hit on that. So that's the annual report. And then one of the other things too is like I'm saying, okay, assume that I work at Meta and I'm meeting with the CMO, the VP of marketing, the VP of paid marketing. And I want you to create talking points, questions, and potential objections they have, right? Pretty simple. And the cool thing about it is like I was telling you is like when I work with companies, I set up all these prompts for them in advance. So then it's basically like you saw that one word execution. So all you have to do is basically do that. Like you type in one word and the whole involved prompt maps out for you. So just wanted to show you that because that makes everything way easier as well. So now what we did is we took that research and we're customizing it for the first meeting. So it's got talking points, questions to ask each person from the CMO, the VP of marketing, potential objections, right? And then the 4 best ways to overcome those. And obviously this gets tighter, like once it's more nuanced. I wanted to give a broader example. Now what I'm gonna do is look at competition. Like, all right, let's look at, an expert analyst and let's look at G2 and other review sites and give us what are NVIDIA's top 3 competitors. We got AMD, Intel, Qualcomm. And so it maps out based on competitor reviews what their weaknesses are. All right. And then what it basically identifies how Meta outperforms them, which I thought was super interesting. And then potential objections. Okay. So that's one of the things that's super unique is like you can create battle cards in real time. And I'm like, all right, now I want you to create a 3-step cold-bound outbound email sequence. All right. And this did okay. This one needs a little bit of work, but I wanted to put this together. I have much, much more involved email sequences. And this basically created a 3 email sequence targeting an AMD competitor, targeting an Intel competitor, and targeting Qualcomm as a competitor, right? It's got A/B subject lines and it tests that. So all that was done in literally minutes, okay? And so this is what your team will have and access to it if you leverage it and really train and upskill them how to do it. Now, like I said, this isn't something that works like a SaaS solution. You need to train them and give them some guidance. But once you do, it's like rocket fuel to your sales organization. So hope you enjoy this one in terms of finding time for you and your team. And I will see you on the next video.